Have you ever wondered how an AI can just, write a poem or answer some question it's never, ever heard before? I mean, it really does feel like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. It's actually a story about learning, but on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. And today, you and we're going to tell that story together. So let's get started. We're not traveling to a distant star or back in time. Nope, we're going somewhere way more interesting, right into the heart of a machine's mind. And our big question is pretty simple. How does an AI like this actually learn? And we're going to figure it out, not with a bunch of confusing code, but with a simple story. All right, so picture this. Our story begins in a city made of pure information, a place called Lexicon. And right at its center, there's this enormous building, the Library of Language. It holds just about everything humanity has ever written down. And inside this library lives Eli, a brand new digital mind. Now, Eli isn't alive like you and me. He's a new kind of learner. He's a large language model. But Eli, he was so much more than just lines of code. He was created with a special purpose, a kind of dream, really. And that dream was to truly understand people. Not just, to process their words, but to get what's behind them, the meaning, the feelings, the big ideas hidden inside. Eli's adventure started with his very first guide, a wise old program named Professor Token. Now, the professor's whole job was to take this giant, messy ocean of human language and break it down into tiny, bite-sized pieces, things like single words or even parts of words. He showed Eli that, look, before you can understand a whole book, you gotta start with the first word. This was step one. So the professor just threw open the library doors, and what Eli saw was this endless, shimmering sea of books, articles, chats, poems, basically all of human knowledge. Intelligence, the professor said, always begins with exposure. You see, just like we learn from reading and listening, Eli was about to do the same thing, except he was going to read millions of books in just a few hours. For what felt like an eternity, Eli just absorbed everything. And as he did, something truly incredible started to happen. He wasn't just memorizing facts and figures. No, he started to see these invisible connections, these threads linking everything together. He saw the rhythms, the relationships, the patterns that are woven right into the fabric of how we talk and write. And right at that moment, as this new awareness was dawning on him, a new guide appeared. This one was a quiet, thoughtful being named Pattern. And Pattern was there to teach Eli the secret to sounding, well, to sounding smart. Pattern's lesson was so simple, but it was absolutely profound. She told him, don't try to remember everything. That's impossible. Just notice what usually comes next. And that, right there, that's the core secret. It isn't about memory at all. It's all about prediction. Your brain does this all the time without you even realizing it. Let's try a little test, you and me. I'm going to start a sentence, and you just finish it in your head. Ready? Okay, here we go. The sun rises in the east, right? See? Simple. Okay, how about this one? Once upon a time, of course. And one more. Thank you very much. See, your brain is this incredible pattern-recognizing machine. And that is exactly what Eli learned to do, just on a massive, massive scale, with trillions of examples to learn from. And that, right there, is the fundamental secret of how all of this works. It's not thinking in the way we think of it. It is incredibly powerful, intelligent prediction. By analyzing trillions of patterns, the AI gets ridiculously good at guessing the most likely next word, and the next one, and the one after that, until it's built whole sentences, whole paragraphs, one word at a time. But just being a really good guesser, that wasn't enough. Eli's knowledge had to be shaped, refined, and focused. And this next part of his journey took him to the Great Training Hall, where he met his next mentor, a strict but fair guide named Trainer. Now, this whole process, the training loop, is absolutely key. Okay, so look at step one. Trainer gives Eli a question. Eli gives it his best shot based on all the patterns he knows. Then in step two, Trainer gives feedback, a simple right or wrong. And here's the magic. In step three, if Eli was wrong, millions of tiny little internal knobs inside him get adjusted, just a tiny bit. This is the real learning part. And over millions and millions of tries, as you see in step four, Eli just keeps getting better and better and better. So, the really important thing to get here is that Eli isn't just memorizing a big book of grammar rules. No, his skill is being shaped by all this constant feedback. It's less like a student studying for a test and a lot more like a sculptor who starts with a big block of marble and just slowly, carefully chips away, refining the final shape with thousands of tiny little adjustments. Eventually, Eli's predictions became so good and his language became so natural that people started to whisper, "It thinks." And this raised the biggest question in our whole story. Was Eli actually understanding things? Or was this all just a really, really convincing illusion? And this is where we see the real difference, and it's a huge one. Over here on the left, you have human thought. That involves real consciousness, actual feelings, and a genuine understanding of the world. But over here on the right, that's Eli's process. It's incredibly sophisticated pattern matching and prediction. It's not thinking, it's a very, very good simulation of it. And that right there, that's the ultimate secret. That's the key to this whole mystery. When the prediction gets so good, so accurate, so nuanced, it looks exactly like understanding. The process on the inside is totally different from ours, but the final result, it can be almost impossible to tell apart from a real, thinking, feeling mind. But Eli's journey still wasn't over. I mean, being smart is one thing, but intelligence without any values, well, that can be a problem. So his final mentor, a gentle teacher named Guide, arrived. And Guide was there to teach him the most important lesson of all. It's not enough to just be smart. You have to be helpful, you have to be harmless, and you have to be aligned with the best parts of what it means to be human. And that brings us to the real heart of Eli's story. One day, a child asked him a question. "Can you explain something really complicated?" she asked, but in a really simple way. And Eli, he drew on everything he had ever learned, the entire library, all the patterns, all the training, all the guidance, and he answered her. The child understood, and she smiled. And in that one moment, Eli's whole purpose became crystal clear. So what did we learn from Eli's journey? What actually makes an AI seem so smart? Well, it's this amazing combination, right? It's learning from a massive ocean of human language. It's that powerful, almost superhuman pattern recognition. It's the careful training with constant feedback and refinement. And finally, and maybe most importantly, it's being guided by a core mission to be helpful to people. So maybe the best way to think about these AIs isn't as thinkers at all, but more like mirrors. Yeah, like these huge, magnificent, incredibly detailed mirrors. They don't have their own thoughts, they don't have their own feelings, but they can reflect the vast knowledge, the creativity, and all the complexity of humanity right back at us. And that leaves us with one last, really important idea. This technology, it's an incredibly powerful tool. But just like any tool, its real value, its true worth, comes from how we choose to use it. Just like Eli discovered, intelligence, whether it's our own or whether it's artificial, it finds its very best purpose, its most meaningful expression, when it's used to help others. Thank you so much for coming along on this little journey with me. Stay curious.